Incredible twist. Single mom's wrong flight leads to unexpected connection with a lonely CEO. Emma had never boarded the wrong flight before. Today, beneath the fluorescent lights of Seattle-Tacoma Airport, she felt the world spinning around the chaos of her morning. 2 jobs, 2 kids, and an unforgiving clock. Juggling the weight of responsibility, she barely managed to drop off her 10-year-old son, Luke, and 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, before rushing to security. "Go, Mom!" Luke had shouted, his eyes twinkling with excitement as he waved goodbye. She felt her heart swell, mixed with an ache of something unnameable, a fear of missing out, of failing. As she glanced at her boarding pass, a tense pit hit her stomach. NYC, it read, reassurance in chaotic letters, but maybe it was just the wrong flight, promising a momentary escape from reality. While families around her reunited with joyful embraces and business professionals blended into a blur of purpose, Emma couldn't shake off the sense of impending doom. Would she get fired from her side job as an event planner if she took this trip? The thought clawed at her. The cabin door sealed shut just before she could question her decision. She settled into her seat beside a man who emanated a stark contrast to her whirlwind life. Jake, a CEO, cocooned in an aura of corporate power yet visibly empty, stared at his smartphone, lined with notifications that zeroed him out from the present. As the plane rattled during takeoff, so did her mind, racing back to her children, to late nights, to dreams deferred for reasons that felt endlessly sacrificial. Suddenly, an unexpected turbulence jolted the plane, rattling both their seats. It threw her heart into her throat, her chest tightened as uncertainty began to electrify the air. Jake's eyes widened briefly, then shifted to meet hers. That flicker of vulnerability hadn't gone unnoticed. "You all right?" he grunted, eyes still flitting back to his phone. "Yup, just another day in single motherhood," Emma forced a smile, clenching her jaw to steady her nerves. That line felt like a thin shield, hiding her swirling emotions beneath a mask of forced bravado. "Must be exhausting," he replied, and suddenly his gaze softened, turning warm, peeking into her reality. Emma realized that beneath those tailored suits lay some discontent mirroring her own. "What's it like?" she asked, questioning her impulse. "Corporate life?" "Lonely," Jake murmured, the roughness of his voice striking a chord of familiarity. It was a word that bore the weight of regret. She had anticipated ambition, money, but what he shared was something far more haunting, a drifting connection that haunted his suit and tie. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Their stories unfolded like pages of a book yet to be written, filled with late nights and sacrifices made for the sake of responsibility. As they talked, Emma felt a warmth in the cabin, a lightness slowly softening the edges of her frayed nerves. Yet with every laugh shared, doubt lurked beneath like a snake waiting to strike. And then reality crashed into them when the pilot announced their descent into New York. Emma's heart sank. The impending end of their conversation loomed closer, like a cloud of impending judgment. Jake's world stood starkly apart from hers. He would return to a high-rise, and she would navigate her responsibilities like a tightrope act, fearing the judgment of those who would see her as less than ideal. As the plane wheels met the ground, Emma's breath quickened, overwhelmed by the bittersweet thrill of closure on something beautiful brewed in such little time. Would Jake cast aside his corporate demands for a glimpse of a life full of warmth? The connection they had ignited now felt like a fragile spark at risk of being extinguished. Choices lay ahead. Would either dare to take them? The plane came to a halt, and as the seatbelt sign flicked off, Emma felt a rush of urgency coursing through her veins. She had only met Jake moments ago, yet his words clung to her like a lifeline thrown into choppy waters. The air around them became electric with unsaid things, as if both knew their encounter meant more than simple airport chatter. "Take care," Jake said finally, standing up and gathering his things with that practiced precision of someone who had done it countless times before. Emma watched him move with a surprising sense of disappointment, realizing she had instinctively hoped for something more to emerge from their chance meeting. Something that could bridge the gap between their two disparate lives. "Wait," she found herself saying, surprising even herself. "Do you want to grab a coffee before I head out?" The pause was almost palpable. Jake hesitated, almost as if he was weighing an unspoken burden. "I have a meeting," he replied, but Emma could detect a glimmer of regret in his eyes, a conflict rippling beneath his composed exterior. "Just coffee. It doesn't have to be business," Emma pressed, feeling a surge of desperate need to find someone who understood her strife, someone to share a moment's reprieve from her unclenchable reality. With a slight nod, he relented. "Fine, just a quick one." They navigated through the bustling terminal, and as they found a quiet cafe tucked into a corner, Emma felt her heart pounding, not just from the thrill of connecting with someone, but also from the weight of an uninvited possibility. What was she doing? How could she? Think that a swift coffee could become anything more? Sipping her latte, Emma bit her lip as Jake leaned forward, curiosity tinting his gaze. "So, what's your story, Emma? You're not just a single mom. There's a spark in you that suggests there's more." The depths of his question felt like an invitation to bare her soul, but hesitation kissed her tongue. How could she define herself through the fog of motherhood and obligations? "I plan events, birthdays, weddings. It's not glamorous, but it keeps me busy." Jake glanced around the cafe, and for a moment Emma saw him, really saw him, beyond the tailored suit and corporate persona. He was enchanted by the smell of fresh pastries, yet the shadows in his eyes betrayed that he was no stranger to loneliness. "It might not seem glamorous, but it takes a lot to juggle your family and your job," he said, a hint of admiration straining his voice. "Thanks," she replied, surprised at the warmth of his compliment. "I guess we just do what we have to survive, right? But sometimes I question if I'm doing enough." "What does enough look like to you?" Jake asked, his probing nature straddling the line between mere curiosity and something deeper. Emma hesitated, wrestling with her internal struggles. "I just want my kids to be happy and for us to be okay. But I'm torn between that and my dreams, my ambitions." At that moment, clarity struck, the truth exposed like a vivid picture. She didn't want to merely survive anymore. She wanted to thrive, to reclaim the life she had set aside. "Why don't you chase those ambitions?" Jake's voice was low but firm, unassuming yet decisive. "You have a spark. Use it." Her heart raced at the suggestion, but doubt tainted her resolve. What if she failed? What if she pursued her dreams and fell even harder? Everything she built could come crashing down. As he finished his coffee and prepared to leave, their eyes locked once more, and an unspoken understanding ignited between them. In that fleeting moment, she realized this encounter could become a turning point. "Thank you for this," Emma acknowledged, feeling a charge of empowerment that lingered in her words. "You've challenged me. Take risks. Don't let fear hold you back," he said, pausing at the door. "I'm just a tap away if you ever need to talk." As he walked away, a cascade of possibilities flooded her mind. Was she ready to confront not only her dreams, but also the fears that had long restrained her? With Jake's parting words echoing in her thoughts, Emma stood firm, contemplating her next move. The real question loomed: was she willing to step out from the shadows of self-doubt? Or would she let this spark fizzle out in favor of safety? Time would tell. As she turned to leave the cafe, the weight of her decision sat heavy on her shoulders, yet a flicker of determination stirred within. What choices would she brave? As she returned to her reality? As the light from the cafe's exit enveloped her, a new endeavor presented itself, an opportunity to reshape her life. Could she take the leap that would define her future? Or would she let this moment slip away, missing the chance for something more profound? The moment Emma stepped out of the cafe, her pulse quickened. The sunlight outside felt different, not just brighter, but charged with anticipation. She caught her breath as the overwhelming weight of reality closed in. The chatter of travelers and the distant announcements triggered memories of hurried school drop-offs and deadlines she constantly juggled at home. Yet, in the midst of that familiar chaos, a thread of excitement slid into her core, the spark Jake had ignited. Emma's feet moved before her mind could catch up. She found herself wandering through the terminal, contemplating her life with a newly sharpened focus. She remembered her own dreams buried beneath layers of responsibilities. The event planning courses she had once been excited about, the networking events she had postponed, the aspirations of crafting her own legacy. All this time, had she been ignoring a pathway leading to her potential? "Time to step up," she whispered, an anchor to ground her swirling thoughts. She pulled her phone from her pocket and stared down at it. The message she had avoided sending for weeks loomed in her mind. Her friend Leela, the one who had encouraged her to pursue event planning beyond her comfort zone, had asked about her ambitions multiple times this month. Emma hesitated, but as she thumbed through her texts, Jake's parting words echoed, "Take risks." The urgency for change scratched at her like a persistent itch. Summoning her will, she typed a quick response. "I want to discuss some ideas for my own event planning business. Can we meet next week?" She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The blast of anxiety that followed was almost palpable. What if Leela said no? What if the encounter fizzled into awkwardness? But more terrifying was the thought of retreating back to the life where dreams drifted unrealized. Abruptly, a loudspeaker announcement drew her attention. Boarding for her flight began, and a shocking realization struck her. The scheduled return flight home seemed less alluring now. Instead, she envisioned standing in front of clients. She imagined designing breathtaking experiences that made guests feel celebrated and valued. As she settled into her seat on the plane, the gulf between who she was and who she aspired to be widened. But the turbulence of doubt followed her like a shadow, whispering that chasing ambition could lead to failures and disappointments. The moment she approached her dreams, she could also confront the risk of loss. The plane ascended into the clouds, and she felt her heart race, not with fear, but with hope. A fleeting glimpse of possibility danced in front of her, providing buoyancy against the growing anxieties of potential failure. She contemplated the practical steps ahead. Should she reach out to local businesses that might support her, thus weaving her aspirations into the fabric of practicality? Just then, her phone buzzed. A response from Leela brightened her resolve. "Absolutely. I've missed you. Let's talk planning next week, and I have some exciting connections for you." Emma grinned, her earlier fears dissipating momentarily. Leela's enthusiasm fueled her ambition, sending ripples of momentum through her mind. She could envision setting the groundwork for her own success stories. But just as doubt flickered, it mutated into sheer determination. It didn't matter if her approach was shaky or her plans were still forming. What mattered was that she dared to unwrap the layers of doubt and step onto the field of pursuit. As the plane cruised through unbroken skies, she turned her thoughts toward tangible goals. How would she market her services? What unique angle could she explore in event planning? Her musings flooded her with an exhilarating adrenaline that surged through her veins, a sense of purpose pulsing like an anthem in her head. Yet a niggling uncertainty remained. Once she began stripping away the fear, was she prepared for the challenges that lay ahead? The time had come to face the questions of capability and courage she had long evaded. What if she embraced this opportunity and faltered? What if she succeeded? Seated in her cramped airplane chair, Emma felt both cautious and emboldened, a tightly coiled spring ready to burst. No longer would she float helplessly on the currents of life. It was time to steer her path intentionally. As the flight droned on, a new resolve burgeoned within her. She would face her fears head-on, redirect her trajectory toward growth, and dare to chase her purpose. The moment of truth loomed nearer, where she must answer an essential question. Would she allow her past to define her future or seize this pivotal opportunity? As she stared out at the clouds beyond, doubt transformed into determination. In 1 week, she would confront her aspirations. But with momentum gathering, could she withstand the pressure of how high she dared to reach? As the airplane began its descent, Emma felt her thoughts spiral in tandem with the changing altitude of the land beneath her. Each bump in the flight provoked a new wave of uncertainty, matched only by her rising exhilaration. Soon she would find herself enveloped in the familiarity of home. Yet the prospect of returning without having made concrete moves toward her aspirations haunted her thoughts. No more drifting, no more half-hearted attempts at reaching for her dreams. The plane landed smoothly, but Emma felt anything but grounded. While collecting her belongings, she shielded her mind from the wave of mundane thoughts that threatened to crash over her. The grocery lists, the meaningful conversations that felt trapped behind the walls of her daily routine. Instead, she envisioned stepping into her future, ready to paint each bold brushstroke of her new career with vibrant colors of ambition. Once outside the terminal, she took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of possibility mixed with the exhaust from the nearby cars. She scrolled through her contacts, searching for the names of local businesses that aligned with her event planning aspirations. Each highlighted name stirred a blend of fear and excitement. If she reached out, would they see potential in her, or would her insecurities bubble to the surface, tainting her pitch? At home, she set her bag down and straightened the living room. As bills and papers were shoved aside, her instincts told her to tidy up her schedule, not just physically, but mentally as well. Between tending to the needs of her family and the demands of everyday life, Emma had allowed chaos to dictate her priorities. With her laptop open on the kitchen table, Emma began crafting emails. She pored over her words, making adjustments as if each sentence was a presentation before an important client. This was new territory, and with every keystroke, she wrestled with the trepidation that kept urging her to retreat into comfort. What if no one replied? What if her vision was too far-fetched? But the images of vibrant events began to populate her mind. She envisioned light-drenched spaces adorned with joyful laughter, a whirlwind of creativity bursting forth from her fingertips. No more playing it small. She pressed send on her first email, and the click felt like a release, a small action with the potential for great reward. Over the next few days, the momentum built around her newfound resolve. Leela's enthusiasm resonated in her mind as she scoured the internet for event trends, absorbed industry podcasts, and followed successful event planners on social media. She saw glimpses of her future self in those professionals, their confidence, their networking prowess, and while she admired them, each glance fueled her determination to take her rightful place alongside them. One night, while arranging her workspace, Emma's phone buzzed with a notification. An email from a venue she had contacted. Their reply was concise yet encouraging. "Let's schedule a meeting to discuss potential collaboration." Her heart raced. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Yet another voice nagged insistently in the back of her mind, clashing with her budding excitement. Could she truly represent herself professionally? Would her vision hold up under scrutiny? The internal conflict threatened to derail her enthusiasm, but instead, she resolved to channel that doubt into preparation. In the days leading up to the meeting with the venue, Emma visualized every aspect: how she would walk in with confidence, how she would establish her credibility, and the polished pitch she would deliver. These mental rehearsals became a ritual, replacing the old habit of dwelling on fear and instead nurturing a newfound sense of competence. But just as she felt ready to tackle the world, another thought crept in: her children. How would they perceive her ambitions? Would they understand that her drive wasn't just selfish pursuits, but a legacy she wanted to model for them? It was crucial they saw their mother transforming. It would be one of the most powerful lessons she could impart. As the meeting day approached, she could sense the stakes rising. With potential clients relying on her to make this working relationship happen, her nerves came rushing back, reminding her of every moment one could topple her aspirations. But in those moments, she took solace in her preparations. She had stepped out of her complacency, and with every new email, every inspirational podcast, she approached this turning point with a ferocity ignited by their potential. The night before, she practiced her pitch one last time, and for the first time, she allowed herself to really hear the words. The excitement shimmered within her, yet underlying it was a creeping fear that she might not only fail, but fail publicly. Was she truly ready to confront this? That knowledge laid like a sharpened blade against her heart. But as she lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling, she finally embraced the paradox of her situation. Not knowing if she would succeed didn't undermine her desire to try. It was a leap into the unknown that might just bring the breakthroughs she had long craved. The next morning, she woke early to prepare, pouring all of her energy into making this meeting the catalyst for the person she was destined to become. But as she stepped into the venue later that day, a startling figure crossed her path, and suddenly her trajectory felt more uncertain than ever. For in that moment, everything she had planned collided with the unexpected. Who was this person, and what impact would they have on her journey? Stunned, Emma steadied herself as she recognized the figure who had disrupted her path. It was Ryan Mitchell, the CEO of a prominent event planning firm she had admired from afar. The glossy magazine covers she had often leafed through at the bookstore flashed through her mind. The elegant events he crafted took her breath away. Now here he was, unexpectedly in her orbit, adding weight to the surreal situation she found herself in. "Emma, right?" Ryan's voice boomed with an unexpected blend of confidence and warmth. "I received an email from you. Exciting ideas you have." Talk about a curveball. Was she dreaming? Emma clenched her fists, fighting the instinct to retreat under the pressure of her rising anxiety. This wasn't just a random encounter. It was a potential endorsement of her ambitions. While her mind scrambled through potential responses, she took a deep breath and forced herself to focus. This was her moment, not one to be squandered by hesitation. "Thank you. I'm thrilled you're interested," she managed to say, her voice steadier than she felt. Internally, she examined how a figure like Ryan could amplify her own goals. Could this interaction propel her deeper into her aspirations rather than divert her from them? As they exchanged a few pleasantries, Emma sensed his genuine interest. There was a vulnerability in... Yet, beyond the initial excitement, something flickered in Ryan's eyes. Doubt? Was this pivotal figure also battling internal insecurities? "Are you ready for your meeting?" he asked, that inquisitive tilt of his head urging Emma to expose her intentions further. Taking a chance, she replied, "I'm preparing to present my ideas for a collaboration. I believe there's an exciting synergy we could create." There was a distinctive edge to her response. It was a commitment to move beyond timid aspirations toward bold declarations. Ryan raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Collaboration is great, but Emma, are you prepared to face the skepticism that comes with it? You have to believe in your vision, even if those around you don't get it." Her heart raced at the gravity of his words. They resonated deeply, evoking memories of her late-night doubts and the suffocating fear that had held her back for years. But his raw honesty sparked something inside her, a fierce determination. She wouldn't let her insecurities stall her dream any longer. "Absolutely. I know what I want and who I'd want to work with," she replied, maintaining eye contact, feeling an unexpected shift in the energy between them. The vulnerability they shared hung in the air like an electric current. "Then you're halfway there," he said, a hint of admiration tinting his voice. "Don't let the path ahead shake your resolve." As Ryan walked away, Emma felt as if she had just tapped into something profound. His encouragement had ignited a flame of confidence within her. Perhaps it wasn't just about symbols of success or imagining oneself in a spotlight. It was understanding that even those at the top confronted fear and doubt daily. Suddenly, the reality of her upcoming meeting loomed before her, no longer just a presentation, but rather a dialogue, a collaboration that could unfold into something impactful. She had internalized Ryan's wisdom, and it became her anchor as she navigated towards the meeting room. Yet, as she approached the venue, a vague worry brewed at the back of her mind. Would the vision she held remain intact amid skepticism and challenges? How would she reconcile her ambitions against her responsibilities as a mother, the very ideals she wanted to instill in her children? As the door creaked open and she stepped into the room filled with anticipation, all those questions lingered, fueling the pressure building within. Emma steadied herself, forcing her chest to rise and fall in measured breaths. She was here, and this was happening. While she took her place at the head of the table, she heard the cautious but engaged murmurs from the representatives before her. The stakes surged once again, but there was something transforming within her, an undeniable resilience. What response would she elicit? Would this be the validation she craved, or simply another moment of realization amidst life's uncertainties? Before she could settle into her thoughts, the lead representative, a stern-looking woman, regarded her with keen interest. "Let's hear what you have for us, Emma," she commanded, and the entire room fell silent, waiting. And in that charged moment, fueled by a newfound sense of purpose, Emma understood she wasn't just pitching ideas. She was embodying everything she had come to believe was possible, faltering only slightly as the door swung wide open for her dreams to collide with reality. Could she truly make her mark in this world? The time had come to face not just her audience, but the fears woven tightly around her aspirations, a confrontation that promised to define her journey and perhaps, just maybe, redirect her life in ways she never expected. Emma settled into her role as the lead in the room, her heart drumming a steady beat against her ribcage. The eyes of the representatives latched onto her, some skeptical, others intrigued. This was it, the moment she had like a tightly wound spring, expressing raw potential just beneath its surface. She took another deep breath, allowing Ryan's words to echo in her mind like a compass guiding her through uncharted waters. "I want to talk about creating memorable experiences," she began, drawing on every ounce of strength she had cultivated. Not just events, but connections that resonate well beyond the day they happen. The pitch felt like an extension of herself, each word a stepping stone moved with purpose. As she elaborated on her vision, weaving in stories of her experiences, a charity fundraiser where she had transformed a simple gathering into a heart-touching celebration, a school event that drew neighborhoods closer, Emma saw nods of encouragement from some, while others remained skeptical. Each reaction stirred an exhilarating blend of anxiety and confidence within her. This was an exercise not merely in salesmanship, but a declaration of her identity. Just as she was gaining momentum, the stern lead representative interrupted, her voice sharp as a blade. "That sounds lovely, but we need metrics. What proves your concepts hold value?" Emma felt a jolt. Data, milestones, numbers, they were the lifeblood of the corporate world she had yearned to penetrate. The validation she sought now dangled before her like a prize in competition, but was it really out of reach? The sudden intricacies of her ambition clashed with childhood memories of overcoming adversity. The moments spent drafting school projects late into the night, mastering every detail, yet always feeling one step away from approval. "Certainly," Emma replied, her voice steadier. "While I may not have the extensive data that larger firms can provide, I can demonstrate how engaged emotions translate into measurable outcomes. Higher attendance, greater participation, and most importantly, memorable experiences that keep clients returning for more." She steered the discussion toward case studies from smaller events which had exceeded expectations despite limited resources. The energy shifted slightly in her favor as she tapped into deep wells of knowledge she had fortified over the years in spite of self-doubt. Realizing the importance of this catalyst, resolve settled into her. Exchange transcended mere business. Emma felt the stakes elevate further. It wasn't merely about her ideas or their metrics. This encounter brimmed with possibilities, interlacing her desires as both a visionary and as a mother who wanted her children to witness her resilience. The meeting continued, with representatives asking pointed questions, challenging her ideas and probing her projections. Instead of retreating into the comfort of her insecurities, Emma engaged every challenge. With each question, she felt her conviction strengthen, her responses fueled by necessity and desire. Yet a nagging doubt nestled in the recesses of her mind. Was she weaving together an elaborate facade, or was she truly capable of manifesting these concepts into reality? The fear that had once shrouded her aspirations began peeling away with each confident rebuttal. Time pressed on, and Emma realized she had crossed into unfamiliar territory, not just articulating her vision, but defending it as though it were her own child. The realization ignited a fervor within her that she had not expected. Each answer became an affirmation, each challenge a confirmation of her identity. Eventually, the meeting concluded, and applause broke out around the table. Though Emma felt the weight of uncertainty still hovering above her decisions, a flicker of elation illuminated the path ahead. She had taken a firm stand amid escalating expectations and had emerged undeniably transformed. "Thank you for this opportunity," Emma said, maintaining eye contact as she finished. The representatives nodded, some eyes no longer shrouded in skepticism. They had seen something, strength, a clear vision for a collaboration steeped in passion, not just profit. As she stepped outside the building, Emma's breaths came easier, and a smile crept onto her face. Confronting her fears had moved her one step closer to her dreams. Yet deep inside, another worry lurked. She needed to negotiate her role, not just as a businesswoman, but as a mother dedicated to raising confident children. Glancing back at the looming corporate structure that had challenged her, another wave of determination surged through her veins. This wasn't just the beginning of a professional adventure. It was also a chance to redefine success on her own terms. But as she crossed the street, the implications of what came next crashed over her. How would she balance ambition and family? Where would the next opportunity arise? And would she stand strong enough to seize it? The answers, she knew, could be buried even deeper than the fears she had just wrestled, not just in the corporate world, but inside the very home where her children waited. Each question igniting the next spark of need as she realized the journey was far from over. It had only just begun. As Emma walked briskly down the hectic street, her heart still racing from the intensity of the meeting, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. Every step resonated with the echoes of her unresolved fears. She was caught in a whirlwind of ambition and maternal responsibility, unsure how to bridge the chasm between her professional aspirations and the nurturing role she cherished so deeply. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, an urgent message from Ryan. The words, "Great job in there, want to discuss next steps?" hit her like a breath of fresh air. For a moment, she wavered, torn between the thrill of furthering her career and the looming responsibilities at home. The children would be waiting for her. They needed her attention, her warmth. Could she afford to keep climbing this ladder of success while they were growing up so fast? She quickly texted back a thank you before redirecting her thoughts to the immediate task at hand. She wanted her children to see their mother as more than just a caregiver. She desired to be their role model, a figure of resilience and determination. The tension in her chest tightened at the thought. Arriving at her modest apartment, Emma was greeted by the delightful chaos of her children's laughter filtering through the air. Their joyous sounds soothed her restlessness as she stepped inside, greeted by the sight of crayons strewn across the dining table and half-finished art projects decorating the walls. Each piece was a vivid reminder of the home she had built, a sanctuary amidst the turbulent uncertainty of her professional journey. "Mommy!" her youngest cried, arms outstretched. Emma knelt, enveloping her child in a warm embrace, and that all-consuming love made her momentarily forget the worries crowding her mind. In those precious seconds, the demands of the corporate world faded, and she allowed herself to simply be a mother. Yet, as they settled around the table for dinner, the conversation inevitably drifted toward her day. "How did your meeting go, Mom?" her son asked, eyes wide with curiosity. Emma paused before answering, weighing her words. "It went well, I think. I shared some ideas and people seemed to like them." But with each word, a deeper truth tangled in the back of her mind. The doubts that still lurked in the shadows, whispering that she might never achieve her goals. "So, are you going to be a boss now?" her daughter chimed in, her smile bright and reminiscent of hope. It was a good question. The answer felt crucial, not just for her career, but for the legacy she wanted to leave for her children. "Yes," she said finally, the determination returning to her voice. "I will be a boss, and I will show you that we can achieve our dreams." That resolve reinvigorated Emma, but it didn't erase the questions manifesting from her newfound responsibilities. She realized she had to develop a plan, not only to pursue opportunities, but to ensure that her family remained her focus. Later that night, as the children settled into bed, Emma sat in the quiet of their living room with a notebook and pen. She drafted her goals, intertwining professional aspirations with the family values she wanted to impart. The page filled with dreams and strategies, but each word resonated. She needed a concrete roadmap, a blueprint blending ambition with balance. With each stroke of her pen, she unearthed hidden strengths, noting the flexibility she had nurtured throughout motherhood and how it could translate to time management in her work life. The slope of her ambitions forged a clearer path. She might just need to carve out new spaces within her day. Just as she filled the page with plans, the glow of her phone interrupted her thoughts again. It was Ryan, asking if they could meet up to discuss her visions further. Emma's heart raced, but now there was a different tension at play. Would she leap into this next opportunity, risking the delicate equilibrium she had just begun to establish? The question hung in the air like a coiled spring, ready to release her into uncharted territory once more. Taking a deep breath, Emma felt a pulse of excitement mixed with apprehension. The time had come to confront the multifaceted identity she was shaping, a businesswoman, a mother, a visionary. Yet how would she navigate this new chapter without losing herself in the process? As she prepared for their meeting, the stakes felt higher than ever. The journey that began with a single bold step now faced potential detours she hadn't anticipated. Emma could see a pivotal moment approaching. Would she prioritize her career over the emotional stability of her family, or could she innovate a solution that reflected the best of both worlds? The answers loomed, and she realized there was more at stake than just professional growth. Her very identity awaited its defining moment. Emma woke up the next morning with the heavy realization of the choices she faced. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, illuminating her path with a warmth that felt promising yet daunting. Today wasn't just another day. It was the day of her meeting with Ryan, a touchstone of her professional journey, a potential new beginning. Doubt began to creep in as she prepared breakfast. Would she excel in the discussion? What if her ideas faltered, leaving her doubting her competence? Each question spun a web of anxiety in her mind as she placed plates of eggs and toast before her eager children, who chatted about school plans and art projects. "Mom, will you come to my class for show and tell?" her daughter asked, her eyes sparkling. Emma felt the weight in her chest again as she pondered how to balance the demands of her job and the expectations of her family. "Of course, sweetie, just let me check my schedule." The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. How could she assure her daughter that she would prioritize family while gearing up for her own ambitions? That inner conflict throbbed through her day, each minute slipping away too fast as the clock ticked towards her appointment. Before leaving the house, Emma grabbed her notebook, tucking it under her arm. She had outlined her vision, but now, appropriating ideas felt like a risk. Vulnerability surged within her as she recognized the stakes involved. Her ambitions hung in the balance, and with them, the example she set for her kids. The cafe where Emma and Ryan had agreed to meet buzzed with chatter. She arrived early, ordering a cup of coffee to steady her nerves. Seated at a small table in the back, she watched patrons engage in easy conversation and laughter, a world apart from her current inner turmoil. Ryan arrived, a confident presence that filled the space around them. His greeting was warm, though Emma sensed an underlying urgency in his demeanor. "I'm glad we could meet so quickly," he began, his tone professional but imbued with an encouraging vibe. "I wanted to dive deeper into the proposals you mentioned." As they discussed strategies, Emma's anxiety began to dissipate, transforming into a palpable excitement. She spoke passionately, her previous feelings of inadequacy melting away as she articulated her vision. Ideas flowed seamlessly, and she found herself taking charge of the discussion, directing it towards her goals. Yet, just as the conversation reached its peak, Ryan asked a question that knocked the wind out of her. "How do you plan to balance everything? Your job, your kids? It's not an easy juggling act." Her breath caught momentarily, the room shrinking around her as his words sank in. He was not just inquiring, he was challenging her to confront her defining struggle. She stuttered, grappling with clarity in her own narrative. It was a pivotal moment. A decision loomed before her. Should she envelop herself in the role of ambitious professional, or remain anchored as the nurturing mother she cherished? The duality of her identity felt like a cage one moment and a tapestry the next. The answer lay hidden within her, but she needed to find it. "Honestly, I'm learning as I go," Emma replied, a newfound honesty layering her words. "But I plan to find ways to merge both. I believe I can show my kids the value of hard work while being there for them." Ryan nodded, seemingly impressed. Instead of offering judgment, he leaned in, his expression softening. "That kind of thinking will serve you well. A good leader inspires flexibility and finds strength in the journey." As their conversation continued, Emma recognized a significant truth emerging within her. She was not merely juggling roles, she was redefining them. Each success and setback could intertwine into a narrative of resilience that her children could look up to. It wasn't just about being a boss, it was about being present, adaptable, and fighting for her dreams without losing sight of what mattered most. Leaving the cafe, Emma felt invigorated, power surging through her. But the journey was just beginning. Could she create a model of success that encouraged both personal fulfillment and deep family connections? The notion felt treacherously thrilling as she considered the possibilities ahead of her. Yet, a lingering fear whispered through her thoughts as she exited. How much would she have to stretch herself to achieve this balance? Would she risk the fragile state of well-being she had just begun to nurture? The answers remained undefined, swirling tumultuously in the back of her mind, making her realize the challenge she was about to face was only just starting. With her heart pounding, Emma held the notebook tightly, determined to forge her own path. The question was, would she manage to maintain her integrity as a mother while chasing after that tantalizing pull toward leadership? The clock was ticking on her next decision, and she could sense the complexities setting the stage for her future. Emma returned home, the afternoon light casting shadows across the kitchen table, illuminating her anxiety-ridden thoughts. She placed her notebook down, its pages filled with dreams and projections that felt suddenly weighty. Each line spoke to her fear of failure, of stepping out of her comfortable role and into the intimidating realm of ambition. It was a fine balance, one she was still struggling to define. Her children burst through the door, their laughter both a salve and a burden. They brought with them a sense of normalcy, yet her mind was racing with calculations of bills, deadlines, and the looming prospect of being a woman who had taken a leap. Could she carve out a path where both her family and her professional aspirations were nurtured? "Mom, you said you'd help with my science project," her son exclaimed, the urgency in his voice jolting her from her reverie. Emma wanted to respond with enthusiasm, but fatigue wrapped around her thoughts like a fog. "Yes, of course, sweetheart. I just need to finish something first."
She noticed her voice lacked the energy it usually conveyed, a realization that stung. As the hours crept by, her children occupied themselves, while Emma flipped through her notebook. Ideas danced mockingly on the pages, but self-doubt clung to the margins. Could her vision truly align with the delicate wonders of motherhood? Later that evening, after tucking her kids into bed, Emma sat alone in the dark, shadows curling in the corners of the room. She reached for her phone, contemplating whether to send Ryan a follow-up email to solidify their previous conversation. But what if he saw her as less than capable? With a shaky hand, she started typing, only to delete the words, frustration bubbling to the surface. The weight of the moment cascaded around her. This was not just about a job, it was about her self-worth, her identity. In that instance of hesitation, a faint realization crept in. Clarity washed over her as she recalled Ryan's thoughtful encouragement, urging her to embrace flexibility. Perhaps this was not about neglecting one role for another. Perhaps it was about redefining what it meant to be both a mother and an aspiring leader. Determinedly, she retyped her message, articulating her excitement and commitment to moving forward. As she hit send, a rush of adrenaline surged through her. She felt liberated, not because the path was clear, but because she was taking control. The next morning, Emma awoke early, the tumult of yesterday's emotions still churning within her, but now with a sense of purpose. She resolved to delve deeper into her professional interests, even if it meant learning new skills or refining old ones. There was an urgency to take tangible steps toward her aspirations. Her phone buzzed with a notification. It was a reply from Ryan, full of positivity and outlining the next steps for their collaboration. His belief in her rekindled a fire within. She realized she was among allies, inviting the full scope of her potential to emerge. Fueled by this momentum, Emma donned her professional attire and crafted a detailed plan for her upcoming week, envisioning how she could integrate her work and family life seamlessly. She mapped her days, balancing meetings with school functions and potential networking events alongside family dinners. Yet beneath the surface, the fear remained, a nagging voice whispering of struggles ahead. The clarity she'd momentarily grasped flickered uncertainly as she pushed her limits. Was this push sustainable? As Emma prepped for her upcoming meetings, including a workshop she registered for to sharpen her skills, a new sense of identity sparked in her. She was no longer merely surviving, she was evolving. In the midst of this transformation, a sudden email from Ryan concerning an unexpected networking event landed in her inbox. The moment she read the details, anxiety coursed through her veins. Would she be brave enough to attend, knowing it could lead to opportunities, but also expose her to the harshness of comparison? With her heart racing, she knew she stood at another crossroads. Would she step into the unknown and thrive, or retreat back into the cocoon of comfort she had always known? Only time would tell, and the urgency of her choice echoed in her mind as she contemplated the next chapter. As Emma prepared for the networking event, she felt an electrifying tension thrumming through her veins. The challenge before her loomed larger than any she had faced thus far, a pivot point that demanded she reconcile her vision with her reality. Tonight, she wouldn't just be an event planner looking to make connections. She'd present herself as a leader, stepping into her potential. She donned a sleek outfit, one that spoke confidence as much as it did professionalism. The mirror reflected a woman she hardly recognized. Her composure signified growth, the shadows of insecurity fading gracefully into the background. What lay ahead called for focus, and the glimmer of ambition shone brightly in her eyes. As she entered the venue, the hum of conversation swept around her, a dynamic sea of faces, laughter, and shared aspirations. Emma took a deep breath, grounding herself in the belief that she belonged here. Well-groomed professionals mingled around her, while flashes of recognition and admiration among guests only amplified the urge to retreat. Yet she remembered the determination she had practiced in the mirror. Use your spark. With resolve, Emma approached small clusters of people near the entrance, extending her hand, showcasing her authenticity.
The interactions thrummed with potential as she shared her background. Each introduction became a building block of understanding and shared experience. "Hi, I'm Emma. I plan events that truly connect individuals, like creating intimate and memorable gatherings," she articulated, watching curiosity light up peers' responses. Each time she revealed her aspirations, the fog of uncertainty lifted as she painted vivid pictures of her ideas. Among the crowd, Emma's heart raced when she spotted Ryan from across the room. He waved her over, and his genuine smile felt like an endorsement. Here was a man who once seemed so far removed from her world, now positioned as an ally. "Glad to see you, Emma. How are you feeling now that you're here?" he queried, his voice melodic amidst the background noise. "I'm excited. It's invigorating, maybe even daunting," she admitted, the sincerity in her tone stripping away pretense. "Keep that fire alive. It will carry you through the challenging moments," Ryan encouraged, his presence fortifying her belief. Emma reciprocated, feeling a surge of empowerment. "I'm ready to dive in. This is the time for growth." They began discussing potential collaborations and innovative event concepts, but it was the back-and-forth exchange that she relished, the genuine connection echoing with the unspoken recognition of their respective journeys. As the evening unfolded, Emma engaged with others, collecting insights and perspectives that broadened her horizons. Each conversation dispelled fears, affirming that she was part of something bigger, an ambitious community filled with storytellers unveiling their narratives of triumph. She caught herself laughing with newfound friends, her laughter bubbling through the air like an effervescent toast to her own resilience. The close bonds formed beneath the surface echoed the essence of connection she had long desired for her career. As the night wore on, Emma realized something crucial. She wasn't just there to network, she was actively embracing her role as a catalyst in transforming how experiences were crafted. All at once, her roles as mother and businesswoman merged seamlessly. An inspired version of herself emerged, strong and unyielding. But the night peaked when she was introduced to a prominent figure in the event planning industry. A visionary leader known for successfully turning concepts into thriving businesses. Emma seized the moment, confidently presenting her ideas, fortified by the enthusiasm she had cultivated. The engagement blossomed into a lively discussion, ideas ricocheting like fireworks illuminating the dark expanse of her ambitions. Each nod, each spark of interest fanned the flame of validation. "Your concepts are refreshing, Emma. I would love to explore collaborating on something impactful. Let's keep this dialogue going," he said, his interest palpable. A wave of elation washed over her. It was a direct acknowledgement of her potential, a validation she had thought unattainable not long ago. As the evening concluded, Emma left the venue with her head held high. She was not just a single mother struggling to balance her responsibilities anymore. She had firmly stepped into her power as a businesswoman, a visionary on a path of creativity and fulfillment that would inspire her children. Now, Emma understood her journey was not merely about achieving success. It was about fulfilling her dreams while nurturing an environment where her children learned to embrace their own aspirations. With each risk, she dismantled the barriers that had previously sheltered her ambitions. As she returned home, the anticipation of sharing her day with Luke and Sophie quickened her steps. "Guess what, kids?" she announced as she walked through the door. "I met some incredible people tonight, and one even wants to collaborate with me." Their eyes widened, joy igniting their expressions. "Really? That's awesome, Mom!" Luke exclaimed, and Sophie clapped her hands, beaming with pride. In that moment, Emma felt fulfilled, not by accolades, but by witnessing their understanding of the lessons she was showcasing through her actions. They were learning the importance of resilience, ambition, and the pursuit of dreams. As she tucked them into bed, Emma whispered words of encouragement that resonated with her core. "Remember, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. I believe in you." Emma's heart swelled with warmth.
She had stepped beyond her fears and emerged with a vision that would not only shape her own destiny, but serve as a foundation for her children's exploration of their own paths. Tonight marked a new chapter, one where ambition and nurturing intertwined seamlessly, highlighting the balance she could sustain without sacrificing authenticity. Standing at the threshold of her evolving career, Emma felt a solid confidence settle deep within. She had not only conquered her fears, she had proven to herself that she could thrive, crafting a legacy where her ambitions could take flight. The door to her dreams now stood wide open, and she would step boldly through it, into a future she would define for herself and her family. Now it's your turn to become part of this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that resonate with personal triumphs. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial and makes all the difference. Comment your reactions and theories about Emma's incredible transformation. We want to hear your thoughts. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of these actions.